1,000 emoji. Oh, I'm way beyond that already. Yeah, but 100 episodes. I bet you didn't expect an emoji review show to reach... Oh, okay. I'll just stumble to my own conclusion. It's big to me. So look, this is 100. The 100 points emoji generally means, like, you've done really well, holistically. You've got every question right, or succeeded at watching 100 episodes of a ridiculous YouTube series. There's an implicit percent to it, but apparently that can just stay implicit. Apples is the logo of a horror movie written in blood. Like, the victim was gonna name who killed them, but it was 100 people. Or the victim is just pointing out that it was a really good murder and drawing this emoji. Or maybe it's the calling card of the murderer and we'll face a few false leads before realizing the 1 actually reads better as a 7 and they're gonna kill exactly 700 people and by now they've reached the high 680s, so you can stop investigating and just wait for them to finish. Elsewhere, it's a face that's somewhere between bored and peeved that I saved this emoji for my finale just because it says 100 and it's very widely used, but there's nothing interesting about it and I've done enough pareidolia gags by now. We just want a reasonably human version that's unambiguously legible, and that's SoftBanks. So I'm done. 1,233... No, I'm doing this one now. This feisty symbol contains 4 of the top 10 Arabic numerals. Suggested video, ranking of the Arabic numerals. And it's useful for when you want to represent bad spacing choices. There's the return of the Walt Jabsco aesthetic, and Facebook have a different approach that it might not be fair for me to review as the 1, 2, 3, 4th emoji. I can't choose this for this, but this isn't what this is meant to be. What it's meant to be doesn't make much sense, but if you pause at the beep, you can be condescended about that. Missed the beep? Well, it's too late now. But it's the spacing, right? This unambiguously shows the number 123, like in that tedious Jim Carrey sequel. As the final emoji review, I need to take this very seriously, considering all its important uses, both as an obsolete interface button and as a thoroughly pointless emoji, and not just say I'm going with SoftBank and that's that. Oh, it's on the screen now. Can I... Nope, that's my choice. And that's 1,234 emojis reviewed, if I've counted correctly, which let's just pretend I have. This brings us to the final scores of this exhausted mission to say which is the best.
You've completed your quest.
No, not another bit where there's another character with my face on it. This is played out.
I don't have your face on, I'm a different thing, and I'm easier to animate. You found me back in Mixed Emoji episode 98, but you knew you could not judge me, for I am the Emoji Lord. Only I can judge. Except when you judge, which is what this show is. I've come to release you.
No, I told you I've cut this bit. Someone else played by me bursting in is what everyone was already doing on YouTube in 2011. This is hardly distinguishable from the Flags Conscience bit, and I still did something pretty similar 2 episodes ago. 2 episodes. I even did this bit about having already cancelled their appearance, but then they burst in anyway. And just look how unconvincing I am when I'm trying to act as myself. It's awful. I'm cutting you and just going straight to the Brands bit. Wait, what was that about releasing me from this tiresome existence? Do I get to die now? Will I come back if I do another 100? In episode 50, I showed a graph of which designs I'd picked thus far, and it was only slightly wrong. I've tallied it up again for this second half. Look, seriously, on paper. And here are the aggregate totals of emoji designs I've picked from each brand, this time in ascending order. AU 0. As far as I can tell, I've never chosen an AU design as best. If I'm wrong about that, please do point it out because it'd show that there's someone who pays more attention to this show than me. They've hampered their own chances on Emojipedia by surrendering their whole set to Docomo for brand consistency, but when I've dug back, I found some charming designs by 2002 standards, or this awkward betweeny stage that's very 2005, which Emojipedia refers to as realistic. I guess when they were drawing the buildings, they ran out of patience. Thanks for playing AU by KDDI. Docomo 3. Docomo is much better and similarly exists as an archive of reasonable ideas in more pixelated times, later homogenized into this nasty set, not so much to fit with Unicode as to fit with a unified Japan. Old Japanese emoji sets are the feudal history of Japan. I was going to use the Japan map emoji as an example of how they converged, but AU's didn't on that one. They've chosen to draw what Japan would look like if land was silly putty. But I can't really judge them against modern emoji since they resigned before half of these sets even started, so rather than developments in representing meaning, they're developments of their own set of symbols. OpenMoji 10. OpenMoji have earned my derision with their stubborn aesthetic of gaps in lines and neck areas, but I thank them for the joke material. In itself, this set is admirably consistent and direct, so no disrespect, they just can't compete. They're open though, meaning it's fine for me to use them in videos. I owe massive royalties to nearly everyone else. I just noticed these mer people have transparent heads. Mozilla 15. Mozilla's emoji set was abortive, and it's kind of lucky it got put on Emojipedia. They had one go in 2016, and the blocky format can end up kinda cute. It wasn't even officially released, so 15's a decent go considering. HTC 16. HTC is the designer who shrunk in on themselves, going from a litany of crappy designs to just a few crappy designs. When I've picked them, it's been simple shapes. SoftBank 21. SoftBank go back to the 90s, and of those who've developed from pixel art, they've remained completely true to its cuteness, shedding its limitations. And yeah, stopped in 2016 when this show started. Mixed Emoji is about the Unicode emoji era, but maybe feudal Japan had its own emoji review show. Sure is a Japanese word for mixed. Emojipedia 24. Emojipedia aren't exactly competing. Well, really, nobody's willingly competing. This whole show is me finding PNG files on a website and bashing them together like action figures until I say which one wins. But that website is called Emojipedia, and they efficiently chronicle everything in emoji lore. They used to retweet this show, but quietly stopped that, and it's fine. It's fine! And they draw their own portrayals of upcoming emoji. In 24 instances, they've done better than any branded design. That's pretty good going. Microsoft 27. If you have a Microsoft phone, well, firstly, I think there's a support number you can call. Don't use your Microsoft phone to call it, though. But if you do, you might see some of these, or if your computer's running Windows, like I've browsed this whole show on. Since this show started, they've moved from one strict theme to a kind of less strict, but still strict theme, and I admire their aesthetic commitment, but not much of the result. Oh, they've just announced a complete design overhaul as I was rendering this video. It looks good. It's a bit late for my show. They're gonna be animated and there's Clippy. This kind of demonstrates a weakness of my format. The way that massive news will still happen because of the pesky habit of time going forward. Every design I've chosen will one day be replaced or retired, but won't we all? Twitter 36. See, we're now at the low end of the veterans, brands I've been finding little to comment on since episode 1, who are still actively updating. Emoji on Twitter have always felt a little off, like we only put up with them because we love being on Twitter with all of its... LG 49. I didn't realize I'd ranked Twitter's soft, friendly designs underneath LG's kind of garish shading and 5 o'clock drop shadow, but who says I have to be right about stuff? If you want my reasoning for choosing them 49 times, so do I. Some black market emoji at the bottom, worth the try, I guess.
Emojidex 65.
Emojidex is a hot mess. Their website feels like you'll get spyware from 2007. They have that shadow glitch. They're generally all over the place, but that includes getting it right. I respect the ambition and, half the time, the results. You're the hot mess of the people.
Messenger 78.
I like a lot about the Messenger designs, but they're in the right place at the wrong time. That's here and in the past. They've been vaguely faded into Facebook, and I and Emojipedia referred to them as Facebook in a few early episodes. With the strong isometric shapes with a bit of expressionism, at the time it was discontinued, I would have said this is the set that Facebook should have kept. Good stuff.
Samsung 80.
Samsung have gotten here to the top of the middle of the table via longevity. They seem to save things with a nasty compression, at least in the ribs I see on Emojipedia, and this puts them teetering over disqualification, but underneath that are some pretty good designs, and that's about all. Forbidden symbols down here. Then there's a massive jump up to Google 112. As the major leagues begin. Google's designs have been through a few reinventions and de-inventions, and they combine that awkwardly off, simple vibe of Twitter with a bit more brightness and comprehensiveness. I think I've picked Google when everyone else took a big swing and missed, and Google's design simply got it right. I'd say they're surprisingly inconsistent, but maybe it makes sense for a Google thing to have scattered results. I guess overall they've been mixed. Even more massive is the jump up to Joy Pixels 157. They're the indie band who found themselves playing the stadiums. I used to call them Dead Name. I too often call them Joy Pigs, like a pet name, like we're intimate. And I think they proudly pilfer the best of Google, Apple, and Samsung aesthetics for a bright and expressive set. Third place, WhatsApp 162. Maybe WhatsApp would have come out on top if it was around back in episode 1 and didn't start out all tiny. For a late entrant, they've scored a load because of being good at stuff. Each emoji is designed to directly show what it represents, then there's a layer of sheen to it that manifests as panache rather than complication. The first WhatsApp emoji was the England flag, and the next one was a related gesture. In second place, Apple 185. Yeah, I'm surprised too. Few emoji pages go by without an Apple design that half of the others are poorer imitations of. They were well ahead back in episode 50, and I'm not even a big fan. I've just tended to accept their realistic and neutral designs when everyone who wasn't imitating them fucked up. But with that neutrality plus some innovation and a general high standard, they're up here in, second place. The way Apple is shown first on Emojipedia pages sets a pretty high standard for the rest, and is a nice illustration of how rich people dominate our culture. And yet, their emojis don't dominate in cumulative design quality. Not quite. They're bad at people and can have an uncanny texture. Maybe this round 3D shading will be a definable 2010s aesthetic looking back from the future, the era when we had all of the resources to illustrate depth and none of the restraint. And so... Facebook 194. Facebook are even a late entry after this soft Bangalite set that wasn't based on Unicode. They first properly appeared in Mixemoji number 21 in 2017. I think it can't be denied that Facebook's emoji designs are forever optimizing toward the best emoji standard for communication. They do depth shading without the uncanny, and they've chosen to fill their peopleoids with character. That can be a bit of a risk, but it generally beats the empty stares of other approaches. The faces are expressive, the hands are not terrifying, the animals are lovely, the foods are clean, the items are bright. It's a really good set. Facebook have not paid me for this, but if they'd like to, I'll take payment in the form of them having less hellish control over our lives. It's not a very scientific method, arbitrarily picking things based on what I can't come up with jokes about, stretched out over 5 years of updating designs and decaying mental health. But I think this roughly describes the quality of these emoji designers. So there. I can't rule out more emoji-based content under titles that are a close pun of this, but this wraps up this series. I'm as exhausted as a Colin Surname subscriber. No, 0. As for the rest of the emoji, they're mostly variants on things I've already shown, or there's few designs, or they're characters without character. I mean, if you want more episodes, go make them. Just make sure to keep making Homestar Runner references, and Kirby references, and Arrested Development references, and don't you dare get popular. This 1234 suffices for me, and I can get going to more important things like... Oh, is that what the rest of my channel is like? Why does anyone subscribe? I started this out as what seemed like a self-aware joke about how arbitrary it is to assign oneself authority as a critic, and then seemed to drop the self-awareness part. Remaining alive felt quite tedious, so I came up with something to tide it over. I think I'm funny, but needed something to be funny off of, because I'm not creative enough by myself. YouTube was really lacking for pleasant content at the time, and emoji appraisal was actually a fresh concept. So fresh that I'd never got much of an audience beyond kids accidentally stumbling here when typing emoji into search bars because they're brightly colored, but some of you get what I'm doing, and eventually I might. I guess it works if you're interested in this stuff, but not quite interested enough in this stuff to mind when I'm more interested in dicking around than this stuff. I'd say that 9 hours of this show is gargantuan, but I guess by modern YouTube standards, that's about medium. I could have reviewed all of the iCarly episodes or another 8 William Johnston books. Well, your average contemporary internet consumer watches 9 hours of fascist striptease video game stream every day. This is nothing. There's a lot more to look into in emoji design's culture and history, and I'm not the presenter for that. Let me recommend Emojipedia, unsurprisingly. Maybe if there's specifically appealing emoji added in future, I'll tell you what I think about those, but I think I guess that the way emoji is going to continue to develop is with increasing intricacies that transcend the idea of discrete characters and this kind of one-by-one approach. In the 5 years of development I've surveyed on this show, emoji has gone from being just about significant and varied enough to justify the show, through being manageably large and faceted, and it's bursting past the edges now, so my format couldn't sustain what emoji's gonna look like in upcoming years. But Emojipedia will. This is the evolution of linguistics unfolding right in front of us, and it's vacuous low culture at the same time. Don't you just love it? If you liked this video, you like this video! But if you liked all 100 of these videos, this is for you.